So we're doing a mock stranded snowmobiler. There's a couple different ways you can start a fire. Of course, your first thing is going to be gas and a spark plug. If you ran out of gas and that's why you're stranded, there may be a little drips left in the fuel filter. If not, if you don't have anything like that, or your spark plug's not working, you're completely out of luck, you're going to have to go back to matches, lighter, that kind of stuff. If you really screwed the pooch and you have nothing, that's when you're going to start doing friction fire like a hand drill. We're going to attempt a hand drill. It is really cold and almost in impossible conditions, so hopefully that will work. And then if it doesn't, I've got a flint and steel. We'll give some other options and just see where it goes. But before you do any of that stuff, you got to have a place for your fire. We decided we're going to put our fire right here. So what I want to do is to flatten this all out for my pit. Okay? And that's going to be where the fire is going to end up. Okay, I've got a nice little backstop there. Now when you're building a fire, you're going to want to raise it up off the snow. So I'm going to chop these logs up a little bit, and that'll kind of insulate it from the snow and give the fire the ability to build up before it sinks down into the snow. All right. So I got a little hole dug right here, and what I want, okay, whenever anyone is making a fire, there's three parts to the fire, okay? There's oxygen, fuel, and heat. Heat comes from obviously the ember flame that you have. Fuel is the stuff that you're burning, okay? And then oxygen is the one part of the fire that people always mess up. You want the oxygen to come in from the side and rise like the heat does. So you can't smother it down in a hole or put it right against the fire, the ground, if you want it to be effective and burn purely. So even though I've dug a little pit here, the first thing I want are called fire dogs. What is a fire dog? Well, a fire dog is two logs that are going to sit right like that. And what's going to happen is it's going to give oxygen the ability to come up underneath, and I'm going to put a platform on top, and that will help the fire to breathe properly. And if you don't do this, you're going to get a lot of smoke. If you do this, you get a pure burning fire that's just more correct, a better, more highly functioning fire. Tell me to. So what do we got there?
Got a Deali, and I'm going to try to. This is a kind of a punky log. I was going to actually substitute your beautiful burning logs for these punky ones that won't burn.
Yeah, that'll be a good
for the fire base.
Leg. Yep.
So I'm gonna attempt to split it out a little bit with by batoning. So here we go. Let's see what we can do.
Oh, there you go.
Well, it's kind of punky. See, this is...
Yeah, it's splitting a little bit too much.
Yeah. This
That's
is...
right. The good thing about punky wood is it's going to turn into char, and it's just going to hold it.
Well, that's just a dead tree.
Yeah, it's pretty chewed up, isn't it? That's all right. We can use that in the base of the tower so it will hold it. See if you can spin it and split it right here. And we'll use that. Yeah, that's just crunching, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just gonna rot.
Super punk.
Yeah. Down there's not.
So I saw this nice little forum the other day. People were complaining about calling it punk wood. I think the dude doing that just had no idea what he was talking about. So, having said that, let me show you what punk wood is. Wood is, it's been dead for so long and it's been rotten for so long that it's almost a spongy type structure, and it comes right apart. The good thing about this is if you char this with fire and get an ember in it and just keep it slightly oxygenated, you can carry fire from place to place to place. The other thing good about it is if you're ever going to smoke meat, just stick this underneath your little teepee, and this punk wood will smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke, and without burning really purely. So it's a good way to keep a longer lasting flame.
And I don't know if you want to use this or not, but one of the things that people don't realize is that the Native Americans had a keeper of the fire. And when they were traveling around, they didn't stop and make a bow drill fire or a hand drill fire every time they stopped. They had somebody in their group that was basically the keeper of the fire, and he made a fire bundle that would last for days.
Yep.
And if that fire went out, he was the one that had to restart it. So believe me, he kept it running.
Yeah. And they usually use this. This is one technique for that. And what you can do if you're in a place where there's a lot of moss is you can surround it with moss or a moss type basket and put this dry stuff in the middle, and it will just hold your flame while you go from place to place. That way you don't have to make a hand drill every single time. Chopping through really nice.
There you go.
All right.
So now we can use this for your fire base logs.
That'll be perfect. Hey, you lost too?
I'm lost. I see you guys have a snowmobile.
Yeah.
It broke.
So we're all screwed or what? What are you guys doing over
there
here?
we go. We're making some fire. So I might as well introduce you since you've been here for a little bit. This is Ben.
Ben from Living Survival.
From Living Survival. Back there at this teepee doing some joint
that-a-way.
videos. All right.
Pretty cool snowshoes you got there.
Yeah, they're sexy. You're just jealous.
Very sexy.
You're
Did I
pee-pee
say-
that way. Yeah, pee-pee over in your tent. And the outhouse is right there, so
Poopy right there.
yeah, poopy. Nice. Nice.
So bow drill, huh?
Outstanding. Let's see what we can do. All right, so before you ever do fire, you have to do your fire lay. You got to have some place to put the ember or the flame, otherwise, why are you making it? So I've got my fire dogs right here, and what I want is the fire dogs, and these are kind of small fire dogs, but they'll work. That's going to give a pathway for the oxygen to come in. So if I set them up on a pedestal like this with my punky wood, or even my other logs, now once I create flame up here, the oxygen in the wind, you can feel it coming from this direction. It's going to blow underneath those fire dogs and swirl from the bottom up. That's important because that's basically like nature sitting there blowing on the flame for you, and obviously that's going to give you a much more effective fire. So now that I've got the base created, I'm going to split some smaller logs, or I can do what I like to call a shelf fire. And the way a shelf fire works is this. It's got a bunch of So the way a shelf fire works is this. You just put a shelf in the back. You put your flame right there. You put logs at an angle. And it's easier to deal with than a teepee, because when you're making a teepee, it's constantly like falling over and tipping over into little places. But with your shelf fire, I have holes here that oxygen can come up from the bottom. And I have a shelf so my nest bundle and stuff can sit right there and take the flame. So I've got the thick, heavy stuff. What I need now is the intermediate stuff, the small sticks, and then the tinder or kindling, the really, really small stuff that I'll add in the center of my fire lay. So we're gonna try a hand drill. If not, I've got a bow drill, but it's all about practicing when you're out in the backcountry. I made this stem from mullein plants, and this hearth board is from punky wood that I found. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if it's maple or what it is, but it's nice and soft. So Ben's gonna hold this down on the tip for me. Spin a little bit. I gotta do my burn-in process initially. I've already cut a little notch. Hopefully this isn't too punky or it's gonna burn right through. And if that becomes the case, we won't be able to do this because I'll have to spend time creating a new baseboard. But it's cutting through pretty well, almost too well. That concerns me a little bit.
Started going right through it.
So, move this to the side and see if I can find a better spot.
The hole's probably gonna be a little better.
Let's see what she does. I can get this little hand drill to work in the winter time. It's the first time I've ever done this in the winter like this. Hands are just too sticky and wet now.
Dry them off on your wool.
All right, so I tried it. I'm exhausted. It's catching up on this. and it just won't ignite. I've got a bow drill, so we're gonna do it that way, but I wanted to attempt this first. Largely to show, because sometimes you can get it, sometimes you can't. The key is don't stop until you have fire. So if you try and you fail, either use another technique or keep trying until you're successful. So let's go to the bow drill. Okay, hand drill failed, so we're gonna use the flint and steel just so you guys have got something. I got a little bit of char cloth. Real easy way to do this. Take your rock, put the char cloth around the rock, that way you can catch a spark from both directions. And then as you do this, nice and relaxed. It's gonna take a minute, but once I get a spark to hit, we'll go. There we go, okay? There's my spark, and I'll transfer that to a nest. This is the improvised shovel nest. I didn't know what I was going to use.
Shovel bundle.
Shovel bundle. Ow, burning me. I'm going to go a little bit liberal on the char cloth today.
The dampness in the air.
See if we come up with flame. That works good. Note to self. Those leaves work great. They're burning almost too fast. Let's say do a quick little flint and steel fire.
And coyotes.
There you go. Got a nice little fire going. Now we're gonna go grab some food. We got some meat we're gonna cook, and some make a little brew, and we'll be good to go. All right, Jim.
Yes.
So what are we cooking?
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the skin off of it, or the bark off of this.
Yeah.
Hang on.
At
I'm
beech
my
tree.
camera, too.
And I'm gonna take some of that dough
Cook some dough.
and wrap it around it.
Doesn't
And
fall.
then we're gonna jam this in the snow next to that over in that fire area, just so it gets heat, and you just keep an eye on it and then turn it occasionally, and it will bake like it is. Look, squirrels.
Squirrels. You're as bad as a puppy dog. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
And
Little baby ground squirrel.
little ADD, you know. Then we're gonna just keep an eye on it and let it brown, and then as we get our stuff ready for the sausages, we'll make some kind of fork to cook those sausages over, you know, and just freaking peel it off of this, wrap it on the sausage, and maul it.
America.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, do some skin in there.
Yeah, we're just, you know, taking the outside bark off.
Too easy. Show me your knife real quick. People are gonna want to know what it is. That is the.
This is the American Knife Company Forest. This is the original one that first came out.
I keep calling it the Forester, huh?
Yeah, well, it's okay. People call it anything they want. Once they touch it, they'll fall in love with it.
Oh, I was super impressed.
I mean, that is the one thing about this knife that I've really noticed is that, you know, some guys are, you know, it's not a cheap knife, and some guys are.
You pay for.
Yeah. A lot of thought went into it. A lot of design.
It can do bushcraft, and I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it'll be a good skinner and a good fishing.
Yep. It's got a continuous curve from the choil all the way to the point. This is a continuous curve, and it's heavy enough that you can baton it without any trouble whatsoever. It's got a pommel that you can mash for make cordage.
Or
That's the
maybe
whole.
Break nuts with it and stuff too.
Oh yeah, you can do that stuff, but I.
So like busting dog bane.
And making cordage.
Yeah.
Yes, and that works perfect for it. You know, it's one of those kind of deals.
Very nice. Oh, you're fired.
Oh, put the fire out too.
This
actually
won't work. There you go. Couldn't pull that away.
Now you're in fire detail. You've got to. You screwed up the fire now.
Alrighty. All right. So we'll come back to that in a
Yep.
second.
Choking.
There we go. Set that puppy right there on the stick right above the fire. Heat rises, cooks it, and you're good to go. Now we wait. All right, well, it's just about dark, so we're gonna say goodbye. Bye, guys.
See ya.
You waving?
Bye.
See ya.
See you later.
Gonna eat our bratwurst and our.
I would call that.
Bannock.
Yeah, it's
Is
like
that what they call it?
it's like bannock bread, only it's bannock
Pillsbury
rolls.
version.
Yeah, the Pillsbury version.
Very nice. All right, till tomorrow. Thanks for watching TJX Survival. So last night we were talking about a little bit about the fire lay, and I want to be able to explain what exactly that is and what I mean by that. And as you can see, this fire is burning for the most part fairly pure. There's not really any smoke above it. I have some birch bark in there which burns with a black curly smoke. So that's where I'm getting a little bit of this black stuff coming off, which is unpreventable. But the key with this fire is that it's burning pure and the wind is keeping it going. The question is why and how do we have that happen? Why is because it has oxygen, and how is because the oxygen has the ability to enter from the bottom. So if you look right here, that fire is up off the ground. That's called a dog leg, and that's called a dog leg. And what it does is it gives the ability of oxygen to go underneath the bottom there and rise up, feed the fire, and be pure. So let me switch this. Without oxygen, the fire is basically suffocating on the ground. But when you rise your fire up off the ground, not only does it insulate the fire, which helps the heating process, but it gives the ability of the oxygen to go underneath between the fire logs and rise up through the fire. Now, ideally, what you want to do is if you've got a wind coming from this direction, you want to orient the fire to the wind. Or if you've got a wind coming from that direction. So ideally, if you have a crosswind from the right to the left, you want the dog legs to be right to left. You want your fire reflection back here, meaning a rock or a wall or something that the heat can bounce off of to come back to you. And then you just set your fire up just like that. All right, so that's a quick little explanation of how to set up a fire lay to make your fire burn efficient and constant without having to have constant tending to keep it going.